Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Men in Cars, the podcast where we talk about the history of motorsport with or without men. I cannot believe we're finally here, guys. This is just a little trailer, a little insight into what the podcast will bring. You might be listening to this before I've uploaded any episodes. You might be listening to it after you've already listened to an episode. You might have just clicked onto this wondering what it's all about, and this is why I thought a little introductory episode would be great. So, first of all, my name's Miriam. I am 20 years old and I'm currently studying history, and I just love motorsport. It has consumed my life quite drastically on most interests I have. I'm obsessed with it for a few weeks, a month maybe, but it's been a while. It's been a while, and I've reached the point of starting the podcast, so I think there's no turning back now. So before we get into the podcast itself, I thought I'd just do a little bit about how I got into motorsport, because it's not like, most people who start podcasts, they are veterans in their topic, whereas I am not. Growing up, I did not care about cars. I did not care about sport, so why on earth would I be interested in motorsport? Some members of my family, like my granddad and my uncle, were really into it, but I just wasn't for me, because I just thought cars are what all the boys are into. But when you're a young girl, it doesn't seem particularly appealing. However, the tides turned when my lovely friends Orla and Anna, shout out to Orla and Anna, because they started this. That sounded like it was a negative thing, but it's definitely not. So August 2022, at the time of recording, this was literally less than a year ago, which sounds insane. One of my first introductions was I'd watched the documentary on Netflix about Michael Schumacher, and I enjoyed it. I love a good documentary, and I think being around so many F1 girlies, I wanted to be in the circle, guys. So then I watched Drive to Survive. I think I only watched season 4 at the time, so the 2021 season, which I did enjoy. That's a whole other discussion, the Drive to Survive thing, but I did enjoy it. It's not my preferred viewing now, but I'm glad I watched it, because it just helps you get the basics. So this was around September. I was kind of really getting into it, kind of really enjoying watching YouTube videos, all that type of stuff. I think the first race I watched live was Singapore 2022, which is crazy because I've never watched Lewis Hamilton or Charles Leclerc win a race live, which seems absolutely insane. The winter break kind of came at a really good time for me, because I got F1 TV, which I would highly recommend, by the way. I think it's only £2.50 a month or something. So F1 TV was so useful. Just kind of having that archive footage really kind of sparked my interest, not just into F1 currently, but old F1. I found it so interesting, particularly the kind of early 2000s kind of Michael Schumacher era races, how the cars have changed, how the regulations have changed, how the drivers have developed. I really love seeing that, and even though it was a bit hard to follow sometimes, because I was still very much learning. So now we come to now. I very much enjoy watching the races. I watch them quite frequently when I can. I've started watching IndyCar as well, which I'm really loving, actually. It's very interesting, because F1 is, if you're watching F1 at the moment, I wouldn't say go as far as to say boring, but you kind of know what's going to happen. IndyCar, you do not know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to win. It's great. I have been following F1 Academy, although it's a bit frustrating that we can't watch the races live, but I look forward to the documentary that I believe they're making. And F2 as well. Oh, I forgot about F2. No, I am actually enjoying F2 as well. I find it very interesting, and I just love the fact some of these drivers might be F1 world champions in a few years. That is amazing. No, so I'm really enjoying watching that. Anyway, so let's get into why I started a podcast. So I really wanted to start doing something to kind of be able to do more research, because I was lucky enough to do a module as part of my degree where I could pick my own topic, and the topic I chose was the history of women in motorsport between, I think it was 1924 and 1969, so kind of early 20th century motorsport. So I did a project on that, and so whilst I was able to write and research a lot of areas that I really enjoyed, there are so many. Like I used the archives from Motorsport magazine, which there's like thousands and thousands and thousands of stuff. So I was kind of looking through there, and there was just so many like people, so many events that I just wanted to like delve into more, but I only had 4,000 words to do it, so that's not really enough in a way. Like I touched on a lot of stuff, but there are, so many people that I would like absolutely love to do more on. So that's why I kind of thought this is the perfect thing. I can just research that I might like to do in my spare time. I can publish here and hopefully someone else will enjoy it. So the kind of format I want to have for this podcast is kind of each week I'll alternate between looking at more general aspects of motorsport history, and then on the other hand focusing on female motorsport. So, like next week I'll do something female motorsport related, and the week after something not so much, because starting this podcast was obviously sparks of my interest more in female motorsport, but as we know, it's a very male dominated area, so it would be nearly impossible to, find that content consistently. As much as I would love to do it, that's just not really feasible, and I love the other aspects just as much, so I think that would give it a good range. I can draw inspiration from kind of current events in motorsport, as well as kind of looking at aspects that have been somewhat kind of forgotten. So that's what I'm going to kind of do. I'm just going to research as I go, and I will preface by saying I am not an expert. Like I said before, I've been a fan of motorsport for not even a year, so I will obviously research each episode as much as I can, but there might be bits that perhaps I get wrong. That just bear with me, When I was looking at kind of F1 podcasts I couldn't really find that much kind of history related. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe there are some good ones, so let me know. But a lot of the content that I love watching on TikTok is kind of history related, kind of, those minute long videos on little pockets of like F1 history. So I just kind of want to do a bit of a longer version of that, basically. So that's the podcast. I hope you guys enjoy the episodes that are to come. If there are no episodes out, don't worry. There will be first one coming out next week, which I believe is the 19th of May 2023. And if there are lots of episodes out, I hope you enjoy the episodes. I hope they are good. I hope I've succeeded. And yeah, also, I feel like I'm just doing loads of disclaimers now, but I am not a technical expert. I'm not a woman in STEM. I think, like lots of history or humanities students, the most complex software I've used is like Microsoft Word. So like it's a bit temperamental. I hope everything goes well, because it's just me. It's just me trying to figure it out. So I will hopefully get everything uploaded well on Spotify, definitely. Apple Podcasts it should be on, but we'll have to wait and see for that. And YouTube as well. So I'll post kind of pictures and audio snippets that kind of go along with the episode on Instagram and TikTok. So go and follow those. They should be in the description of the podcast. And yeah. So thank you so much for listening to this little episode. I hope you enjoy the others. Please subscribe, follow the podcast, give it a little 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, give it a little thumbs up on YouTube, press that little notifications button so you know when I upload a new one. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to this little episode, and enjoy the future episodes.